네, 라인 플러스의 신중호 대표님 정말 감사합니다. 제가 오늘
Thank you, Mr. Shin from Line Plus. I will send over a sticker to you. So this award enables a collaborations by using the technology among different people, society, and it enables innovations and going beyond the borderlines of different ecosystems. Creative economy and innovation is possible, and at the center of it are the startup companies. So we'd like to see what is the vision and future of Korean startup companies that dream of becoming the second Silicon Valley. So we have three people here. First one is Mr. Lee Min-hwa, professor of KAIST. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Good afternoon. Many people left the scene after watching this ECOllaboration. This session is about venture meets the collaboration, and there are three speakers in this session. And the bad news is that the session starts by an old man in his 60s, but the good news is that the two handsome young men in their 20s will conclude this session. So let's start with this old man. The venture meets the collaboration. This is the topic and theme of this session. When I was young, about this time, there was not much food to eat, so you have to go to the mountain to get the bark from the trees. So many of you don't understand that situation. So we got the food aid from the world, but now we have become a donor. This is the miracle of Han River. But the problem is that this miracle of Han River is not sustainable. We were a less developed company, but we have become a developed company. But the strategy we have used so far to become the middle-income company has to change in order for us to become the advanced country. Because in the past, we had the fast follower strategy, but now we have to take a first mover strategy. And there we have to take a big challenge. And when we succeed, we will be able to create second miracle of Han River. Professor Michael Porter said that in the element economy, the countries will move over to the efficient economy to become the middle-income country. And then the countries can move over to the innovative economy to become the advanced company. And here, now after this, we have come up with the concept creative economy. Are there any people who can define what this is? Now, one of the three mysteries in Korean political field is the creative economy. What is the difference between the creative economy and the innovative economy that we've been pursuing? And it talks about the convergence and the convergence between the culture and IT and science and technology. We've been hearing this for many years. So what's the difference between innovative economy and creative economy? We need to talk about it. So let me solve for you this mystery. There are two elements of innovation. One of them is the creativity. Without creativity, you cannot achieve innovation. No matter how creative you are, unless you execute it, you cannot lead to any result, and therefore no action will lead to nothing. So you shouldn't be just a dreamer. You have to make something out of your creativity, and for that you have to execute it. You need executability. So I sometimes ask, what's more important between the creativity and the executability? And many people say, as this graph shows, that the executability is important. But what is creative economy? In this new innovative era, the creativity becomes more important than the executability in this new creative economy. That's the creative economy. If we look at the term Korea's creative economy from this perspective, Korea is not the first company who used this concept. In early 1990s, the Nomura Research Institute used it, and earlier than that, John Hopkins in UK wrote a book on creative economy. And there was a talk about the creative class and creative cities. So what's the difference between these different concepts? Now, if you look at the John Hopkins' concept, design, fashion, music, videos, ads, softwares, and all these were the creative industry with which the UK wanted to develop its economy. That's the right thing to do. However, the problem for us is that if you just to focus on the creative industry, the cultural industry, according to John Hopkins, we cannot increase the GDP to a great degree because it accounts only 5% of the total GDP, and therefore it has to be a different one. And we cannot just use the John Hopkins' concept. And in 2009, the Creative Economy Research Institute was established, and that research institute said that all the industries has to become the cultural industry. And in these industries, the creativity is superior and more important than the executability. Then what is creative economy? It is the economy where the creativity becomes more important than the executability in innovation. To put it more simply, the creative economy enables and facilitates innovation. The new values are created by innovation, and this innovation is facilitated by the creative economy. This is the famous process of the making business out of creativity. There are the valleys that you have to cross. The first one is the Death Valley, and only 3% of the creative ideas succeed in crossing the Death Valley. The remaining 97% fail and die and disappear. So even though you achieve innovation with your creativity, that does not guarantee your success because you have to survive in a tough competitive market. And that requires a lot of money. It requires more money to develop your market in the world than to start a business. So the majority of the ideas die in this Darwinian sea, and therefore only a few survives and be successful. That has been the process. But what is the creative economy? The creative economy builds two bridges to help the businesses to cross these two valleys. The first bridge helps you to cross the Death Valley, and the second one to cross the Darwinian Sea. When that happens, the startup companies in Korea can successfully achieve the rational innovation. The first bridge has the meta technologies and innovative ecosystems, and the second bridge has the open platform. And when these two bridges work together, the new type of economy, the creative economy, becomes possible. And when I started a startup company in 1985, and I did everything myself. I had to build a keyboard and monitor for the medical services myself. But in creative economy, you do not work alone to innovate internally. You have to rely on the ecosystem. And therefore, there are three big changes are coming for us to achieve the creative economy. The first one is the meta technology. In the past, we thought only the juniors can design semiconductors. But these days, anyone can do it because we have such a good systems to do that. And building design can be done easily compared to the past. And with the emergence of meta technologies, innovation became easier. And secondly, even though I do not do the innovation myself, I can get the innovation from others from the ecosystem. And third, we have a highway where the innovation can happen and spread world over. And that is the open platform. In the software area, the meta software, open source, and open market platform are the elements. And on the hardware side, now this one doesn't look good, and you want to make it pretty, then you have to make first the design, to the design and build the prototype. But these days, using the 3D CAD, you can just make the prototype. Now, you put the 2 engineers inside the room, and of course, you fed them, and then gave them 3D printers, and the next day, they produced airplanes and flew them. All different parts and components of the airplanes were produced using 3D printer. So your ideas can be implemented immediately, and you don't have to do the prototyping yourself. You can just do the simulation. And furthermore, you can outsource everything. And therefore, innovation becomes really easy to do in the creative economy. In this new creative economy, in the past, if you were to build a car, you have to build all different parts and components. But you no longer need to do that. You can build the core items that you can do well, and the rest, you can just assemble them like the Lego blocks. Then we need to understand the essence of the creative economy in order for us to have the right strategies. In the industry economy, the labor cost and material cost was a key to the competitiveness. And if we watch the film like Avatar, what are the things that need to be input? No, they don't have any labor product. No, the cost is the R&D investment divided by the number of products sold. That's the creative cost. And therefore, in the creative economy, the creative cost is different from the manufacturing cost. In the old industrial era, you have to sell a lot in order to compensate for the cost. But in the creative economy, you can have the creativity based on the R&D investment divided by the number of products you sold. And if you ask a startup company, then they are good in R&D, but they are good in innovations, but they do not have the ability to develop market. On the other hand, large companies have the capabilities in the market development, but they do not have the innovation ability. So what should we do? These two forces of the two different categories of the companies need to be combined together. And in the creative industry, we see the division of the works. In the past, the 20th Century Fox and all those film producing companies had to produce all the jobs themselves, but many of the jobs are outsourced these days to the third party. And it's the same with the textile industry, pharmaceutical industry, and game industry. So if you do not divide your work, you cannot survive. And therefore, those who are doing everything are disappearing from the market. So we are moving into the multiple competitive era. The competition between Apple and Google is not a competition between these two companies alone. It's a competition between two huge camps. So on top of the huge platform, that is the large enterprises, a large number of small companies with innovation capabilities are working together. So the many different ecosystems are competing in the world with many other ecosystems. In order for the competition, you win the competition, you have to have a healthy ecosystem. And for that, the small companies with innovation capabilities need to cooperate well with the large enterprises with the market development capabilities. So you have to do the collaboration well between these two. So through this collaboration, what is produced? The cooperation for a better competition can be possible. So far, we thought we can fight alone in the market to win the competition, but that is no longer true. You have to run together. You have to work together. If you want to go faster, you can go alone. However, if you want to go far, you have to work together. So large enterprises cannot survive alone. They need the support from the small companies, and it's the vice versa. So when they work together and collaborate, you can create a creative economy. Now, what is creative society? We see the smart phones and social networks are changing the world. And this network creates a collaborative society. In the past, one company worked. However, in the creative economy, the company has become divided into several more companies. But now in the collaborative society, these divided companies will get together again. And creative economy has to become the collaborative society. It's because if you work alone, you die. But if you work together, you can survive and win. Now, let me introduce to you a good book. It's the Homo Mobilian. It is a future. This is the first book written in Korea in English about the future world. And I am the author. How the future will unfold, how this collaborative society will unfold before us are written in this book. Do you think it is interesting? We need to finish when it's fun. So thank you for listening so far. And next,